The Mirror's Secret. It started with the mirror. Rachel had always felt uneasy about the old, ornate mirror hanging in her hallway. It had been in the house when she moved in, a relic of the previous owners who left in a hurry, abandoning the place like they couldn't leave fast enough. The mirror had a strange pull to it, as though it was more than just a reflection of her image. Something about the way the light hit it, the way it seemed to shimmer even in the dark, made Rachel's skin crawl. But she left it up. It was just a mirror after all, or so she thought. One night, after a long day at work, Rachel passed by the mirror on her way to the kitchen and froze. There was something off. Her reflection seemed slower, as if it was lagging behind her movements. She turned to face it fully, squinting into the glass. Nothing. She shook her head, chalking it up to exhaustion, and continued to the kitchen. But as she walked away, she could have sworn she saw her reflection, still standing there, watching her walk off. That night, Rachel couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw herself standing still in that mirror, eyes wide open, unblinking. She tossed and turned, but the unease wouldn't let go. When she finally drifted off, she was plagued by vivid nightmares. In the dream, her reflection stepped out of the mirror and took her place, leaving Rachel trapped on the other side, screaming soundlessly as she watched her doppelganger live her life. When she woke up, drenched in sweat, the feeling of dread had only worsened. She avoided the hallway mirror all day, skirting past it with her eyes fixed on the floor. But something was pulling her back, like a magnet drawing her in. By nightfall, curiosity, or maybe madness, took over. She stood before the mirror again, staring at herself, waiting. Her reflection looked normal at first, but then it smiled. Rachel wasn't smiling. Her breath caught in her throat. She moved a hand up to her face, but her reflection didn't follow. It stood still, the grin growing wider. Rachel stumbled back, fear creeping up her spine as the reflection began to move independently, mimicking her but with a sick, twisted joy in its eyes. Suddenly, it stepped forward, closer to the glass, as if it was trying to come through. Rachel backed away in terror, her heart racing, but the reflection didn't stop. It pressed its palms against the inside of the mirror, leaning in until its nose was almost touching the surface. Then it spoke. "You've been on this side long enough." Rachel screamed and ran for the bedroom, slamming the door behind her, heart pounding so loudly it drowned out her thoughts. She sat on the bed, gasping for air, but as she calmed down, a cold realization hit her. She hadn't heard the door close. The room was dead silent. Too silent. With a growing sense of dread, Rachel slowly turned around to face the mirror on her dresser. Her reflection was already there, smiling. It wasn't her anymore. The reflection raised a hand, waved, and then, with a sickening crack, the glass spiderwebbed, splitting into thousands of jagged shards. But the figure remained, now standing on her side of the mirror. Rachel didn't move, her body frozen in terror as her double stepped toward her, eyes glinting with malice. It leaned in close, whispering in a voice that sounded too much like her own. "I think I'll stay." As Rachel's world went dark, she realized with horrifying clarity, she hadn't been living alone. And now, she wasn't living at all. Her reflection had taken her place, and no one would ever know.